Welcome to your first tutorial in this class. So in this tutorial, I'm just going to kind of show you the overview of the interface of Kaledo Style. So Kaledo Style has this lovely little pen. So you'll just double click it, open it. And this is like your general interface. Granted, just as far as like my graphic status and my palettes, those might look, some of those might look a little different from when you open it up for the first time for yourself and you haven't saved certain settings. This is obviously settings that I have saved and that are on my personal computer. In the lab, settings won't be saved. So settings, you'll have to kind of come in and make those adjustments every time you sit down. Now, if you kind of, you use the license and you're able to download it on your personal PC, then those settings will be saved for you every time. So this is Kaledo Style. Okay, so Kaledo is out of Lectra, and it is a very specific design software for fashion and like garments and interior designs. I think a lot of people are very familiar with the Adobe suite. And the Adobe suite was created for so many different industries. That's why you can go into Photoshop and you can do about a bajillion things in it and do it kind of a bajillion different ways, which is awesome. And a lot of companies, especially smaller companies, just because of access, it's easy to use the Adobe suite. And I think it's really important to know the Adobe suite. The Kaledo is, Lectra's Kaledo is just one of those more specialized CAD softwares for the fashion industry. A partner that really uses Kaledo a lot is Carter's in Atlanta. Just because there are some like easier operations specifically for fashion, and you'll kind of learn about those. I will say, as far as transferable skills, I have had students after students tell me that they had no idea about the Adobe suite, specifically Illustrator and Photoshop. That's what kind of is used in the fashion industry. And they learned Lectra's Kaledo, and they were able to pick up Adobe, Illustrator, and Photoshop very quickly, and vice versa. If you're someone that knows the Adobe suite, there'll be some little this and that you'll have to kind of let go of, but the skills are there and they're transferable. So here I just want to show you the interface, kind of where kind of general things are, and then we'll just keep drilling down to more and more specifics. Your Kaledo Style we're going to start with for making your, for drawing your graphic for the Fax graphic t-shirt project. And we'll also be using it, Kaledo Style you would use for mood boards, trend boards, kind of your inspiration boards, because it's a really easy copy and paste function from like Google Images or wherever you're getting your images to on here. And then we will move away and then come back to it as far as drawing flat sketches. So here we go. So we have, our file, pretty general. You'll learn, we'll talk about this more especially when it comes to inserting images. Obviously saving frequently, and also when it comes to exporting. The place you'll kind of maybe start with is your edit, your preferences. And this is where you'll kind of have some general settings. So like I saved this without crosshair. Let me just show you, you push apply and close. See that crosshair? It drives me bazonker. So I do not like that. So I always go into preferences and I take off my crosshairs. You'll want to make sure you have I never say this word right. Scale contours, accurate font preview, undo levels. I make a lot of mistakes, so I like to keep those undos up to about 15, 20, 25. It does take up memory, so that's why you don't want to go crazy with it. I like to go ahead and have number of recent files, mean how many files I can have open. Generally 10 seems to be okay with the systems here in the studio. Maybe for your own personal computer, maybe you'll learn, oh, I can only open up 3 or 4. I don't know what all that is. Number of stitch lines is 4 is fine. The other place I come into is, you can, keep to average, maximum width and height 800. Now, your fast display, maybe 100 is okay. I will say in general, I would say 100 is okay for just, your fast display resolution. But you'll want to come in here to the server to generate image resolution, and you'll want to save this to 300. In general, you're gonna want 300 to be a default resolution. I think 300 is always just really good for both putting it online and also for printing it out. So once you kind of get those in general, you're good to go. Now, all these other tabs, much like other programs in general, everything up here is generally in these different tools you have around here. So there's always 2 ways to get to a tool, either in the drop down or the quick link. Couple other things, the graphic status. Now, the graphic status has everything to do with your line or your stroke color, and then your fill color or not color. And we'll get into more specifics about like your transparency bar, and this is like the kind of line. So whether it's a 0.5 line, or it's a dotted line, or whatever the case is. Here's, and then these are creating different, either, like I have different fill patterns, which we'll actually do later on in the semester. Then we have our palette, which again, I can show you how you can add different palettes and get to the Pantones. This is your general document. In general, like if you're used to specifically like Adobe's, there's no layers. Your layers are really this object manager, but you never have to create another layer. They kind of are all just separate pieces that you can like work with. So you don't really need to worry about layers, which for me, I loved not worrying with about layers. Some other things over here, your symmetry we'll again learn a little later on in the class. Gravity on or off, that's like your snap to. So it'll kind of force you to kind of snap to a certain point or dimension. I always like to keep snap off. You can always put it on, or sorry, gravity off on. Letter off on is essentially this letter grid. And so if you have this, you'll know, oh, okay, I'm in landscape mode, and it looks like I'm at like 28 by 22. That's kind of generally what a trend board is, but you can always then have it fit to whatever you print out. If you ever want to change that, you just can go into portrait formatting. You just kind of, so that's just in view, whether you want it in landscape, and then obviously different formats. Again, different, I have a custom one here. So those are kind of some general ones. So I'll go ahead and keep the letter on. This is where you'll essentially draw or cut and paste and put things in here. And then we're going to talk about, in the next one, we're going to talk about all these specific different tools. I'm going to go over the tools that are probably going to be best used for your fax t-shirt project, and then we'll get more in detail with very specific kind of things. So here's just kind of a general overview. If you want to, before you watch the next one, kind of play around with some things, check some things out, go for it, and then meet me in the next tutorial.